Namaskar. As we reach the end of the first module, I thought it was only appropriate that I looked at what we have learned from these 5 different areas of law on which we were talking about how to teach them critically. What is it that we have learned from the expositions of different resource persons? What kind of commonalities, what sort of differences? I thought it would be a worthwhile thing to do because it kinds of has a way of us looking at these 5 modules together. One of the things that I found was common virtually to all the speakers is that they did dwell on how do you teach that particular area of law traditionally, and what is a critical way of teaching it. In stressing upon the traditional way of teaching that area of law, we were told that traditional teaching gets us to be really adept at knowing all the rules of law which are encompassing that particular field. And the consequence of that learning is that every time anybody asks us for information on that area, we can very promptly provide it. Professor Mustafa did speak about how that mode of teaching can be extremely advantageous if you are sitting for the civil services exams where this information or knowledge about the law is constantly being asked for. The second strategy or method which I found common across presentations was this stress on interdisciplinarity. You were being asked to look beyond the law. So if you are looking at constitutional law, don't just look at the text, but also look at the history, the politics, the various kind of policy choices that have been made in that particular area of law. Archana Parashar, when she spoke about family law, asked us to not just look at the rules that we have in family law, but to situate the family law within a society and hence to look at the insights we can obtain from sociology. The third strategy we have found in a number of the presentations was what I would call intradisciplinarity. So Jagdeshwar demonstrated how international law can be critiqued by looking at the competing definitions of international law. So be it like how Oppenheim talks about it, how Stark, and how the third world approach comes in, just setting the 3 things together demonstrates to you that international law is not as, let's say, not as linear area of law as we may want to present it. Amita Dhanda, or me, spoke about how administrative law changes color depending upon the legal context. Administrative law in education, in competition, in labor law, or even personal liberty, you do not find it being the same. It changes literally from context to context, and if you decontextualize it, you might flatten the area, but the moment you contextualize it, it becomes a much, much more critical and layered and complex area of law. The other strategy, which was voiced by several of the resource persons, was to not ask the what question, but to ask the why question. In order to appreciate the complexity of the rules, we do not just narrate the rules, but also ask why the rules are the rules. So it is like when Archana was talking in terms of that why is it that in the common law system, judicial decisions are given the sort of importance that they are. And Jagdeshwar demonstrated to us how first world suzerainty in international law is kind of captured in phrases such as laws established by civilized nations. Now, it's a way of ousting the third world perspective, and the moment you start asking why is it or how is it that the third world perspective has been ousted from the teaching of international law, these kinds of phrases give us insight. When we efface the policy choices of constitutional law, we teach it like black letter, whereas actually, as Mustafa Saab said, it is the land of the grey. Amita Dhanda, when she asks for every course to be constructed on the 4 parameters of purpose, content, context and method, I think I have provided a template which possibly could be used in virtually every area of law. Going forward, we would be looking at some of the other dimensions of the specific areas that we have introduced in this module, and we will also be adding to this package labor law, criminal law, and intellectual property. I am hoping for some very energetic conversations with you. Thank you.